Morning, Geoff.
Morning.
Let's start at the beginning. What gave you the idea of Quality New Zealand and taking it to India? Why India?
Firstly, I was very fortunate. I was working for New Zealand Cricket, and one of the jobs of that role was to go over and negotiate contracts with the BCCI and do the pre-tour inspection. And when I was over there, what I noticed more than anything was the lack of New Zealand product. We stayed in some really nice hotels, obviously. We ate out. We were in organised retail stores, and I saw no New Zealand product, which probably was the seed. And then from that point on, the more I thought about it, the more I could see India becoming this incredible opportunity. I could see India developing, even in the times that I'd been travelling there. And so it ate away at me to a point where I knew I had to do something about that.
And what year was this and how long ago was that?
So 11 years ago. So it was a long time ago. And it was before India probably really became known for its momentum that it now has. I think, it's become a global superstar already, and it's only the beginning. But back 11 years ago, there weren't that many people that were interested in going into the market. India itself was being viewed probably through the lens of cricket in many places, and that was where I was fortunate, I guess, to have a little bit of a head start. And as a group, including some pretty infamous cricketers who already knew the opportunities within India, that's when we really started to get our heads together and start the formulation of QualityNZ.
And what were your challenges when you started? Did you start small, or did you just go the whole hog?
No, it was really important. We'd actually, we took a trip over to India and came back with probably about 5 pages of why not to do business in India at that point. It was incredibly challenging. We knew it was going to be incredibly challenging. We'd actually been given some good advice by a good friend of ours who works in New Zealand Trade and Enterprise in the Delhi office. And that was all about making sure that you had, deep pockets and that you had patience. And that was the greatest advice we got. But when we came back, we understood that supply chain was going to be a challenge. Maintaining quality control, maintaining the opportunity to tell that New Zealand or that Kiwi story. How do you get direct to marketing? How to get direct to market in your consumer? But more than anything else, we had to make sure that we were efficient. And with a tariff and pretty high tariff on at the time as well, there was no way we were going to be able to operate at those levels with the price expectation in market unless we had a really efficient process and supply chain control system in India. And that's what then made our decision easier about investing in India with our subsidiary company.
One of the reasons why a lot of small companies fail in India is because they try to be, they get completely overwhelmed by the market and then try to be all things to all people. So how important was it for you to identify a niche and then stick to it? And
Great question. Because that's exactly what we did. We started off, I think, to be fair, with a grandiose idea of having numerous products and numerous industries. But what you have to really do is really narrow your focus. And to your point, is to crack open a niche market. And for us, that's where we looked at sheep meat, and in particular sheep meat aimed and targeted at the real high end. So for us, we identified early that the 5-star hotels, for example, that's where the status was. So if you could break into any of the 5-star hotels, that gives you leverage to then work down into organised retail and into e-commerce and so forth. But until you did that, then the credibility was always in question about whether you could deliver consistently, about whether you could control that supply chain, whether you could make sure that you had that food safety certifications. So we very much narrowed all our effort and energy into one single range of products, to be honest. We knew then that by developing a supply chain for those products, that would open up other opportunities for other goods as well. And from an early start, we also then very much looked at India as being able to offer some of our service industries to the market as well, including education and tourism. So, but 100%, their last 10 years have been purely focused on food and beverage and specifically sheep meat.
Yeah. I understand you've taken 10 years to come to this point, and you're now talking about doubling your turnover.
Yeah.
Well, why did it take 10 years? I know you're the champ of resilience, you're the champ of staying power, because you have that great record of being the slowest zero.
Thanks, Dev. That's very nice of you. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah, so how did that philosophy translate into this sort of a thing, in having absolute patience and being,
and I think the answer to your question is, and it's I think an area where many companies get it wrong is that they don't give India the respect that it deserves in terms of understanding the market, understanding the cultural differences, understanding the importance of building relationships. I think a lot of companies look at India and they'll look at the piece that goes, wow, this is a huge market, huge opportunity. We'll dump a whole lot of product at the port and it'll be great. It doesn't work like that. And that's why we love the market so much, is because actually relationships really matter. Proving yourself really matters. Having respect in the market matters. Earning that respect. So for us, the slow progress, if you like, has been all about setting up a supply chain process and a business model that matched India and what India wanted. And that's, I think, a really important point as well. It's not what I necessarily want. It's not the speed at which I want to work at, but it's actually what India is operating at. And that's one of their mechanisms of testing many of the businesses out. They get knocks on their door every day for ranges of products, but it's who can be there for the longest and who can supply them consistently, who can keep their reputation up in the market, and who's got the same level of passion that they have with and of course that customer relationship. So that's for us, probably the time it's taken us to get to this point has actually, that investment has been probably now our greatest strength. It's enabled us where our whole system is ISO 22000 approved. Our supply chain, we control the supply chain all the way through from the board. We do their own clearance. We have the relationships with the customers. And from there, you can add products.
To a cricket-mad country where cricketers are no less than gods, how important was the role of your brand ambassadors, which have some great cricketing stars, in opening doors for you and establishing the brand?
The short answer is they're crucial. And Stephen Fleming, Brendon McCullum, Daniel Vettori and Sir Richard Hadlee are not only ambassadors, and I think this is a really important distinction, but they're actually shareholders of QualityNZ as well. And we couldn't have asked for more commitment or more dedication and more passion for our business. These are guys that love India, and I think that's been the really important point, and why we specifically looked at those players was that the reputation they'd earned themselves. They were the ones that almost pioneered in many ways the relationships between New Zealand and India. At a time when business trade wasn't very big, they were the ones going into India. They were the ones starting up the IPL or being part, whether as coach or players. All of them have had involvement in the development of the IPL in some form or another. And of course, in recent times, Stephen Fleming has become the most successful coach with the Chennai Super Kings. Brendon's played for a number of teams, coached Kolkata. Daniel, of course, has played and coached for Bangalore and just been announced as Hyderabad Sunrisers coach as well. So they are very well respected. That means that straight away there's some credibility that's I guess washed off onto us as a company because they know what we stand for. They represent us, and they're incredible, as I say, givers of time and givers of contacts and networks that just allow us to just weave and dive, if you like, where we need to. And India is not a straightforward market. You need to be nimble enough, which is again why we're very grateful to have those guys involved.
Yeah, and I think now Quality New Zealand has started manufacturing in India. What did the Make in India initiative have to do with that?
Yeah, we really subscribe to the Make in India campaign, if you like. That for us, it just made total sense that actually companies, if you want to come and deal in India, then what are you offering us? Well, from their perspective, and we looked at it and said, well, we think that we should be employing Indians. We think that we should be doing our value add piece in India, particularly again where it's more cost effective, where it allows us to reach a bigger market. But it's not easy. The process of finding a partner, for example, in India, when you're dealing with food safety and you're dealing with a whole lot of aspects and credibility of the raw ingredient that comes through from our farmers, the alliance farmers who are passionate about their product. We need it also, we in our factory, our partners, we need to make sure that they're also feeling the same way, so that when our end products were produced, that they had that same dedication to the cause. And so, it's part of our business now that we say Make in India is probably a key strategic objective of ours. And whether that be for meat, whether that be for seafood and dairy, it's an area now that we are focusing on and prioritising. And I say that because we also want to become an exporter out of India with some of this product as well. So not only then obviously we're employing Indians and we're adding to the Indian economy through taxes and so forth, but actually then we start earning them foreign currency as well through our export dollars. So there's huge opportunities in that space. You've got to take your time, you've got to find your right partners, but a fascinating and interesting approach. And I admire the Indian government for the dedication to actually bringing investment into the country to create opportunities for Indians to make it that superpower that it will be.
Right. You just mentioned that you watched in these 10 years, you watched India grow and the population actually rise up in terms of their affordability and things like that. So I think you've ridden the wave, or Quality New Zealand has ridden the wave now, having gone to 46 or 48 and 43 cities.
Yeah, 43.
So is that part of the strategy of how we are going to go into smaller towns from your very restricted niche market that you initially began with?
Correct. It's again really important, and I guess our growth has started to be exponential because we started off with only 3 or 4 cities. We had to make sure that we had systems in place that again allowed our control to the level of which we wanted to maintain. And each of those cities are massive. There's 20, 30 million people in each of those cities. So from a New Zealand perspective, they're bigger than the size of many countries that New Zealand deals with. So what we felt is that we needed to make sure that we knew the market well before we started that expansion plan, which is another reason why it's taken a long time, is that you've got to make sure that you understand that market. You've got to understand, you even understand that region. You can't look at India just as one country. The states are so big that we've got to make sure that we take our time to go in and understand, the people, the culture, even within the country. And that's for us is really important. And now, once we've got all our systems in place, the expansion into many more cities becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, but you're also expanding into other opportunities. I believe you're looking at 2 or 3 other verticals. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, certainly we're looking at now accelerating the number of product range that we've got coming out of New Zealand and doing our value add piece in India. We're looking at some joint ventures around nutraceutical products as well, which is an exciting addition. Not only that, but from the vertical side of it, we started 20 months ago an education and recruitment business, and that was about seeking opportunities as well, knowing how important education is to the Indian communities, and being able to facilitate that between New Zealand institutions as well, and then also the tourism side of things, and our contacts. Once you're in India, the networks, the contacts, everyone is connected in more than one industry. So actually, whilst it looks a little unusual that you're in food and beverage, education and tourism, what you find is when you're in India is that many companies and conglomerates over there are already involved in those industries. So it's tapping in that same network system, just with a different business focus. And if you've got really good high quality staff, which we're very blessed with at Quality New Zealand, you have then people specialists that then run those separate verticals. Incredibly exciting opportunities. The tourism market itself, I think, from a New Zealand perspective, Indians coming in was really high up. It might be first or second pre-COVID in terms of fastest growing markets. But equally, the opportunity of India as a tourist destination is just exploding as people start to realise and start to be educated on this amazing country. But you also touched on just the rise of India, and I'm actually really proud of India for what they're doing and what they've achieved, even in the last 10 years that we've seen. And people won't understand that that their banking systems were not, but most people didn't even have bank accounts. GST wasn't controlled, it wasn't consistent. Their ports were managed differently than what they are now. They've done a huge amount of work, and I know they're very focused on that ease of doing business and that international measure, and they are rapidly rising up. And Modi, of course, wants to turn the red tape into red carpet, which I just love. And it's exactly what we've seen in India over the last 10 years.
So are you also looking at a exponential rise in turnover? And if that's the case, which will obviously be the case, do you have any plans for capital raising in India through the capital markets?
Yeah, look, that's one of our goals. But I think that it's more our focus at the moment is making sure that we do the work, do the mahi, and set the business up to be able to be in a position to do that. We think there is an opportunity, and by partnering, taking the time also to partner with various New Zealand businesses in the different verticals, it will set that up better as well. But it's also about associating with Indian businesses. We have a strong relationship with the Bombay Stock Exchange, and those contacts matter. And so, we've got a very big strategic focus around the export market or surrounding countries as well. So we're producing product in India to send back out to the wider world. We think that there is a slightly different model around creating more efficiency in particularly the agricultural sector here in New Zealand to provide better returns to our actual producers, our farmers. We think we can achieve that in India. And that's something that we are exploring more as well, which is another exciting initiative coming up.
What's your advice to New Zealand companies who want to go to India? Because you had this 10-year track record, you had patience, you've seen it grow, and now you're on to your next phase. So what's your advice?
The first thing I would say is come into the market with the right attitude. Come in with an attitude of respect. This is a trading nation that's for thousands of years, been negotiating, been building, if you like. And what India's found is this appetite now to really explode. And of course, demographically, they've got the population base. 65% of Indians are under 35. They've got the human capital. They've got interest from all around the globe. So all of that is there. But what you have to have is patience. You have to make sure that you are prepared to do the hard work, the long-term work, to develop those relationships, to make sure that your business model can service the Indian needs and requirements. And then on top of that, you've got to have some pretty deep pockets. So, but if you can find your niche and you can take your time to find that niche and remain nimble enough to be able to weave and duck and dive a wee bit as you need to do, as long as you're committed to the market and you're passionate and you're prepared and wanting to develop long-lasting, deep meaning relationships, then in India you've got a huge opportunity for success.
Any final thoughts?
Well, look, as I said before, I'm actually just really proud of India's progress, and what I'm really excited for is to see India in the next even 3 to 5 years. And already, in terms of GDP, the rapid rise that they're going to continue to make. But what I really want is that, New Zealand government to not just probably talk about a strategy, but to actually derive a really hardcore strategy that encompasses all of New Zealand government divisions, whether that be NZTE, whether that be MPI, MB, MFAT, everybody in around a really strong commitment, and communicate that openly with India. Let them know that our immigration policies are going to be welcoming. Let them know that our access and our discussion around support of their industries is going to be open and supportive. Let them know what we're trying to achieve. And I think, we're hearing some things now, which is great, but we've missed the boat a wee bit in terms of the free trade agreements, and now it's a matter of actually showing India, who are the superpower, who do offer New Zealand huge opportunities, that actually we do want to be trading friends and trading partners, because naturally we're very close. Naturally we've got a lot to be proud of together. Our history goes well back together, and we need to remind both parties of that.
Thank you.